Buy a $5,000 house that could be worth 50 to 100 to even $200,000 right here in this video using just your credit card. So we're going to show you one of the biggest hacks in real estate right now. We're going to look at some dirt cheap houses. Some of these are actually cheaper than 5 grand, but there is a spot and a hack where you can literally use your credit card to scoop up a cheap house. You could flip it. You could make 5, 10, 50, $100,000 or more on some of these properties. We are going to dive into a world of real estate investing that the average person has no idea about, and that the average investor also has their head in the sand on. So if you've been wanting to make some money, if you've been wanting to get into real estate, this is going to be an amazing video because these are real deals coming up here in the next couple of weeks and in the next month. Some of these can be grand slam home runs if you take some action. So this stuff is super exciting. And as we get into this, we have to do the standard disclaimers. You know, we don't pretend to be doctors on the internet. We are real estate investors. These are properties that we are actively looking at. Now, obviously, we're going to show you as much as possible, but you need to do your own due diligence on these properties. And we're going to have a heck of a time here finding some properties together. But before we do that, we're going to bring in Mr. Josh Blanchard here, my business partner. How you doing, Josh?
Hello, good afternoon. Howdy, howdy. Happy to be here.
Excellent. Josh is a veteran of this game. And we're going to go today and look at an upcoming tax deed sale that's going to have some amazing deals that you could have a chance at swinging at. And what's cool about these deals is a lot of people play the lottery, gamble on their lottery ticket with like 1 in 100 million chance. With these, sometimes the properties go for opening bid. Sometimes they get bid up. But what we can tell you, if you show up to these sales, you can have a chance of getting some of these houses, sometimes cheaper than 5 grand. Sometimes they might get bid up, but if you show up, you can level up. All right, Josh, let's share the screen, get down to the brass tacks of exactly where these folks can go. Let's do it.
All right, perfect. So the first one that we're going to showcase here is coming up August 5th, 2025. So you've got a little bit of time there. You can get registered, learn the rules, everything like that. Opening bid here is $8,333.25. One of the things that you can see right away that I really like is it does show you the parcel map. And so in the past, we've talked about being careful, making sure that you look at the parcel map. We've got the ID there. They're giving it about an assessed value, about 80 grand. And just the way that they evaluate things here, usually it's about half for this SEV. So we're looking at 160 grand is more or less the value. So let's go ahead, let's throw that property up into Zillow. And here we go. Yeah, about $240,000. This is a fairly large lot as well. 0.43 acres. Rent in the area, 1722. So I mean, in a couple months of renting this property, you know, if you got this pretty close to the opening bid, you're going to be getting your investment back fairly quickly. And then in here we've got some comments as well about the property. And so they do actually drive these properties, which is fantastic. But again, you want to get your own eyes on these properties. You don't want to rely on somebody else that has done this, because we're not sure when exactly this happened. This could have been a couple weeks ago. This could have been a few months ago. This could have been, 6 months ago. So we just don't know. And so we've got these photos here. And I mean, from these photos, this looks awesome. This looks amazing. Maybe they're cleaning out a couple of things, or they've just got some trash outside. But $240,000 house, opening bid 8333. Amazing. On top of that, again, you can use your credit card. This is one of the rare places that you can actually use your credit card to buy a property. So if we wanted to just gather a little bit more information about this, we could always throw it up into PropWire. We can go ahead, throw it in here. And remember, this is all public information. Nothing here is hidden or private. This is just county data that we're accessing. So you got square footage, building square footage, the year built, of course. We've also got a little bit of the legal description there. And then as far as the owner, we can see that the mailing address matches the property address. So potentially they live there. We can also see that it was a transfer in 2015. We're not sure how much for, potentially a family transfer. Looks like it was a quit claim deed, which just means they transferred it as is. So there's no warranty there. But let's take a quick peek at the market. Whoa. Okay. So not a whole lot of comps, but what we do see is 365 grand for something that had a lot more square footage. Lot size was a bit bigger. Same year built. We got 107. We got 35. So a place like this, before we've done comps, we've been in areas that have a lot more comps available. And so the further out you get from the city, it's going to be a bit more challenging. And so you may have to spread your radius a bit or open up some more parameters. But as far as numbers go, this is really juicy. We're really interested in stuff like this. And there's nothing irregular about the parcel map, about the lot size, anything like that. So it's a beautiful lot size. One of the things that we would want to do is make sure that we don't have any recent liens, anything like that, any municipal liens that are recent with the county. Make sure that everything is good there, because that's one of the places that you could get burned is recent liens. But I mean, all in all, this thing looks amazing. Really, really good deals. I mean, where else can you attempt to get real estate for such low opening bids?
Nice. And we have plenty more coming up here. So if you're just tuning in, we're going to find some of these properties. Opening bid just $5,000. Right now we're live. So if you guys are here, let's say hello. Robert, welcome to the show. Appreciate it. Leal, how do I say that name, Josh?
Layout, maybe.
Leal, welcome to the show. Wasim, man, looks like a pretty sweet jet you got there.
Oh, we
And
know Wasim.
oh, you do? Nice. Oh yeah, that's right. I think you mentioned when he came on, like, oh yeah, this really cool guy's pilot. Sweet. So for everybody tuning in, do us a favor, say hello in the chat and let us know where you are tuning in from. That is super important to us because we're talking about tax liens, tax deeds. So if we see we have people tuning in New York or San Francisco, we can make comments based on where you are. So we want to hear where you're from. And if you're watching this replay, go ahead and let us know in the comments where you're tuning in from and or any questions that you guys might have. We are live right now. And there's this thing happening in the world where you see so much content online. You wonder what's real and what's AI. So we are making a push to do a lot more live streams so that you always know that this is the real deal. And speaking of the real deal, it's Dustin Hahn here. We've got Josh Blanchard in the house. And we've been doing this stuff now, man, this is like my 20th year. Josh has been in this now over a decade. He's been to hundreds of auctions, been involved in hundreds of these properties. So we try to share with everybody here the lessons that we learned, but then also the auctions that that are coming up. So we're going to be going to these auctions. We got a Philly auction coming up, Texas auction. So we are in the trenches actively trying to buy these properties. And as we go along the way, we bring you guys with us. So our goal is to be the premier resource for tax liens and deeds and government seized properties on the internet. So, if you're new to tuning in, the channel, we have over 3,500 videos on tax liens and deeds. Our website, Tax Lien School, is the top free resource for anybody who wants to get into this business. And always, for everybody tuning in, we give away a totally free mini course called the ABCs of Tax Liens and Deeds. It's in the description below. If you don't already have it, this thing is a gold mine. And we've been told that, hey, man, your YouTube channel, Tax Lien School, and this book provides more information than they've paid thousands of dollars for. So all of that is in the description. And, people often ask, what's our agenda? If this is so good, why do you guys teach this stuff? Here's our agenda. Number one, we want to provide as much value and service to our community as possible. Number two, this is a business as well. We only work with people one-on-one if it's a fit. So all we'll do is invite you to book a call. And if you want to come join us at one of these auctions, you can come along. We can team up with people. And the YouTube gods just happen to bless us with people who like to watch the channel, and we're going with it. So welcome aboard, everybody. And if you like this, do us a favor, let us know where you're tuning in from. What's happening, Kay? Carla, welcome. And we got a good show coming up. If you're just tuning in, let us know where you're tuning in from. So Josh, let's pull up some more of these beauties, and we can show these guys. These are deals that are happening that you can take a swing at, which is super, super fun. This isn't a hypothetical game we are playing. Oh, and one last thing. If you want, you can follow along with us, but what we always recommend is go back, watch it, and follow along step by step, and learn by doing here. So back to your screen here, Josh. Let's show these guys some wicked deals that we're going to swing at, and they can swing at too.
Perfect. Yeah. And so when I'm coming in here and when I'm looking around, sometimes you see that there's drastic differences as far as the minimum bid goes. So this one, for instance, is 6,500 on a 3-story commercial building. This one is $19,000, 20 acres, single story home. And so usually what happens is the larger the opening bids, if the value is not that different from one to the next, but the opening bid is much higher, that probably means that there's a bit more drama, perhaps in the history there, more unpaid taxes, potentially more that's going on that they've wrapped up in the opening bid. So that's always just something to keep in mind. So, for instance, I think the one we looked at last time was about 80 grand as far as what they had the SEV at. So this one's actually the exact same, 80 grand. So we know that this is about half of what it's worth. So we have two. One has an open bid of 8,000, one's got an opening bid of about 20 grand, but they're both assessed at the same value. So when we put that together, we know that there's probably more going on. Yeah, similar values as the other one. Potentially more in unpaid taxes. It could have been left alone for a lot longer. Things like that. And so when we're looking at properties, yeah, the larger opening bids, if it does have the same value, it's a little bit of a red flag, or just do a little bit more due diligence. Maybe it's a bit more dilapidated, it's in worse condition. There could be more years of unpaid taxes. For instance, if someone's gone, 11 years without paying taxes, that could give you a pretty good indication on what the interior is like.
Mm.
All right, let's take a look here. Okay, 2-story home, 5 grand. Here we go. We've got SEV 44, so we're around 90K. Nothing funny with the parcel, actually. It's like almost touching. We like to look at these at regrid. Looks like it almost might be touching the other person's property there. Always something to look out for. Or sometimes, you think your garage is on your land, but it's not. But here we go. Let's check it out in Zillow. So not sure exactly how many beds are in there. It's probably a 2-1, I think, 3-1. I mean, for 1,900 square feet, it could be even a 4-1. But anything about the history? No. So this one's got an opening bid of 5 grand. And yeah, it could be 100, could be a little bit more. And so let me tell you something. One of the best ways to find deals is when you see inaccurate information. So let's say we pull this up on Zillow, and if there's incredibly like fresh gentrification going on and it's new flips and Zillow just hasn't caught on yet, there could actually be a pretty big difference in the actual values there. And so, if it says it's 119 and then you start looking at comps and you realize, oh, this is actually closer to 200 grand or 250 grand, that's going to be, you could say, peeking under the hood a little bit, figuring out what's going on and finding that hidden opportunity. But the comps are always going to determine how much this is worth. Real estate's only worth as much as people are willing to pay, and so that's why we could look at the comps there. So we don't have a whole lot going on in the area. So if we're going to go about a mile out, let's see if I can just get that to show up. There we go. So if we go a mile out, sold in the last year. Okay, we do have a bit more when we go a mile out, but that's always something that you want to be careful of. So I've looked at properties that I've gotten really excited about, and I thought these numbers are amazing. Zillow says it's worth like 250, PropWire says it's worth 300, and then I look and see that nobody's bought any houses in the past 3 years. That would be a red flag, right? And so when it comes to buying tax deeds, even if you can get it for a steal, you just got to make sure that people are actually buying in the area. For instance, if it's a ghost town and there's nobody there to buy it, then it doesn't matter what price you get it for, right? So we're always making sure that there's comps in the area, but we do have some sales outside the city, not necessarily in here though. So it would require a little bit more due diligence. But numbers wise, I mean, 5 grand we're into that. We just want to make sure that what we buy, we would be able to sell for cash. And so that's just a part of the due diligence process for sure. Because you can see this thing needs some work for sure. And so you got to double check that even at $5,000, will you be able to make a decent profit?
Nice, good stuff. And welcome everybody to the show here today, as we are looking for some dirt cheap property, houses as little as $5,000 you can buy with your credit card. Government seized, government auction properties. This is a tax deed sale coming up. We got some good action in the chat. Let us know where you're tuning in from. And we like to know where you're tuning in from because there's sales all over the place. So welcome everybody. Welcome Lance. Welcome Kenneth. Welcome Anna. Good to see you guys. Carla and Kay. We got a good show here today. And if you're watching this on the replay, also ask your questions in the comments. We have someone here in Arkansas, and there's actually Arkansas auctions happening right now. Coach Cam, many of you guys maybe have seen him before. He's boots on the ground at the Arkansas auctions right now. And fun fact, Arkansas is also now taking credit card, which is very cool. It's very cool to have an avenue of real estate where you could buy something cheap and flip it or rent it out, or just allow yourself to get into the real estate game, which is becoming more and more unattainable for the average person here these days. And that's what this channel, we have a lot of fun doing as well. So welcome everybody. We got Phil in California. Welcome. And let's see, can you do a title search in Little Rock? We could maybe bounce back to Little Rock here in a few minutes. Let's see here. We have a Pennsylvania question. We can answer that question here, Josh, as far as the repository list.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll take it right now. Yeah. So for the repository list there in Philadelphia, it's pretty much unsold tax deeds. So it's gone to, I think by the time it gets to the repository list, it's gone through 2 sales. So nobody has bought it. And the county is a bit ambiguous with the way that this works. And so they'll say to you, make an offer on the property, but they will accept a minimum amount. And so generally, when it comes to repository lists, just go ahead and offer them the minimum amount that they are willing to accept. And chances are, if it's passed through multiple auctions by that point, they will accept the minimum bid. So they're just looking to get it back on the tax roll. They're looking for someone to do something with the land or with the house. And so some counties, they have a minimum bid that they're willing to accept of like $250, which is pretty awesome. Others, it might be $750, $1,000, $1,500. So what you'll do is you'll just write into them whatever properties you're interested in on the repository list and make that minimum payment offer. And then if they accept it, you can get the tax deed, which is pretty sweet.
Excellent. Wasim is here, and he found a property, but it had a $35,000 federal lien. Was that an IRS lien, Josh? Did you look at that one with him?
Yeah. So I mean, the 35 grand with the federal lien, that's okay as long as they're notified. They've got their it's either 3 months or 6 months. They have a right to redeem that property and preserve their interest, is what you could say. And so what's tricky is when they're not notified, if they have no knowledge of the sale, if the county or the attorneys never sent them a notice letting them know that the property was going to a tax sale, that's where you've got a red flag. And you could do some kind of quiet title action. You could notify them. There's multiple ways, but if they're notified, then they do have the 120 days to redeem it. And then if they don't, it falls away. So not scary, but helpful to be mindful of and make note of it and make sure that they were actually notified.
Excellent. One of the questions, what location? We are in Michigan right now, looking at some cheap properties. Once again, welcome everybody to the show here today. Let us know where you're tuning in from, what city, state, and that'll help us kind of custom tailor the content here today as well to where you are, where you're tuning in from. So that is part of the name of the game here. And one of the big things that I'm continuing here and that we talk about is the concept of, when you look at the most successful real estate investors, the most successful people in the world, one of the commonalities, I believe it's a Harvard study, narrowed it down to this thing called the speed of implementation, which means how much money you make, and anything comes down to from the time you learn about the concept to the time you implement it. So those who are successful in real estate or anything they're doing are the fastest at getting information and executing on it. So we're fired up that everybody is here, but we also want you to leave here and actually do something. Show up to one of these auctions. It doesn't mean you have to go and buy or bid to buy your first time out. Look at everything you've done in your life. You've practiced. Now, the fun thing about these auctions is you can show up and get a home run deal sometimes at your first auction. That's what happened to me back in the day. I took a tax deed seminar. 3 days later, I bought a property, and it was awesome. And I never looked back. But what I want to openly challenge everybody here today is an accountability with, whether it's yourself or ideally somebody else. So I've shared what I do to take action and what I want to suggest for everybody tuning in. All of you guys here today. Who do we have? Phil, Kenneth, Anna, Dave, Wasim, everybody tuning in, Robert, and anybody who's watching the replay and following along, come up with an accountability to get in the game of real estate. And we recommend this auction here. Now, a lot of the times we need some negative consequence, and that's why I keep this onion on my desk. And what I do is I come up with something that I know I need to do, but maybe I'll get a bit lazy. And if I fail, I have to take a bite of this disgusting onion. And for the record, I really don't like onions. I have this thing on my desk all the time. So for example, coming up in the next hour, I need to hit the gym and send Josh a picture. And if I don't send him a picture in the gym by 2:30, I have to take a bite of this onion. So I will be in that gym by 2:30. So I use this for business as well. So I want to challenge everybody to come up with an accountability, something you don't like to do that's a negative consequence to get you in the game. It's basically a cheat code and a hack to doing it. It could be cutting your neighbor's lawn, in your underwear or something. Josh shaved his head one time. Remember that?
My beard and my head. Yeah, Bic
shaved
raised.
his beard and his head. And
actually, my daughter was the one who helped too. She understood that dad didn't do what he said he was going to do, and so the consequence was the hair had to go.
So we take this stuff seriously, and we know it's fun to watch this, but ultimately it comes down to action. So we're always trying to, work the system to get things done. So I recommend for everybody here, pick one of these sales. Pick the sale coming up here in Michigan. You can go, you could register with it today. We're going to be attending it as well. If you want, you can even attend it with us. There's a link in the description. If you want to book a call, we're going to be hosting a live auction, with this Michigan one, with other ones. You can come and join us at the auction. There's a link below. You can book a call and join us there. If not, let's do something. Let's take some action. Let's dive into a few more of these properties, Josh. And I want to see in the comments, what's something that maybe you don't want to eat, or some sort of accountability idea. You don't have to do it today. But, is it eating an onion? Is it, running 30 miles, shaving your head, something like that ensures you're going to take action in this? I would love to hear. So let's find some more cheap properties. And if you guys are liking this, do us a favor, hit the thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, you can subscribe. And the worst thing is you're not getting this information and you make a mistake. So we're going to try to help you avoid the mistakes. So let's look at some more deals coming up.
All right. By the way, look at that. There's a dog in that photo. That's pretty cool. What I wanted to pay attention to is that a lot of times the things that get passed up on that are going to be pieces of land. And so with the pieces of land, you're going to find a lot of people just skip that. They only want to deal with properties. And so we've seen a lot of land go for really, really low prices. And so this one's actually got an opening bid of $809. It's got an assessed value 4.5. So from them, that's about half of the actual assessed value. And when I take that parcel ID, I can throw it into regrid here, and you can see the piece of land and a little bit of the highlights. So it's actually 0.27 acres. So 0.27 acres for $800. And so I did a quick little look, and I've seen pieces of land that are a little bit bigger. This one sold for about 40 grand. This one is a bit bigger as well. It was 21 grand. And so there could be a lot of meat on the bone for this particular parcel. You'd want to double check though, make sure that there's no liens, no issues, no environmental liens, anything like that. And so you could do a title search. You could also go to EPA and search there. A lot of times it's the environmental liens that may end up staying on and not getting wiped by the sale. And so, you want to check the rules for that. But and the reason I mentioned that is just because I saw, yeah, I see this. I see some water in there. Um, so a bit more of a complicated one, but for the opening bid of $809, potentially maybe it's worth $30,000. If you do the due diligence, there could be a lot of potential there because when you come in and you see a property, especially this one, right, $2,154 opening bid, probably worth a decent penny, right? So if we put that into Zillow, yeah, 2 grand opening bid, 73 grand. And so a lot of people are going to be attracted to that, 2 grand on $100,000, $200,000, things like that. They're very easy to spot deals like that. And it's like the movie The Matrix, where at the end, Neo looks and he's able to see everything clearly. You want to be able to do the exact same thing when you come in here and be able to actually spot hidden gems, spot really good deals. Because I remember when I first started doing this, I actually passed up on a lot of properties that were deals and I just didn't know it. And so when you're looking for the most obvious things, that may be what all of the amateur investors are doing, or people who are just getting started in tax liens and deeds, which is fine. But even this one right here, I mean, someone may look at this and say, "Oh, whoa, no, this is no good," just by looking at the photo. But this could potentially be a really, really good deal. Now, I mean, 8 grand for a piece of land in this area, most likely not, but it requires that due diligence and going in and having a look around and being able to spot hidden gems. And here's another like 0.23 acres for under $700. So these are pieces of, yeah, 0.33 acres, $718. Some of these could be really, really good. I mean, if you just look at the area, look at similar pieces of land, just compare apples to apples, you may be able to find some incredibly good deals because the land is often overlooked, passed up. And as you can see, the opening bids on these are really, really low.
Nice. With these properties, like we're looking at things here. Here's a lot for $1,500. Here's another one for 780. So the fun thing about government seized properties and tax deeds is the fact that there is starting points for everybody, no matter where you are. I always look at this in the sense almost like a train station, in the sense where you can hop on at the $50 ticket, you could hop on at the 5,000. Just wherever you kind of hop on, you might have to put in a bit more elbow grease. Wow, look at this one. Hey,
This is looking fine. They've
wow.
got assessed value 31 grand, minimum bid $1,900. Yeah, right by a lake. You can see the sign they left there. Beautiful, beautiful lot.
Opening bid $1,900, value 31,000. Maybe we investigate this a little bit more here.
Yeah, I think this could be a pretty. We could actually view the assessor card as well. It's going to be a lot of interesting information. So we can, whoa, we can see someone, and again, none of this is private information. This isn't private data. You can see that this was bought for $70,000 in 2022, and you have the potential to bid on this right now for $1,900. That's crazy. $70,000. Before that, it was bought 2 years before that for $62,000.
62. In 95, it was sold for $3,500. So like this thing is definitely good. Let's see. Improvements. What do we have here?
So we can see, yeah, electric, gas, paved roads. So if you're kind of looking for, is there hookups? You can come in, you can see that there. So we do have no water or sewer. So, if you are going to be comparing and looking at similar lots, you can always open up on the assessor and see. But yeah, 0.32 acres. So land value here, here's the true value, $72,000. Open bid, $1,900.
Cool. Yeah,
This
this
is
stuff
a
is
fantastic one. Yeah.
it's super fun to come across these potential home run jackpot deals and just being transparent as far as how this can transpire. You have a few things that can happen. We've seen this over and over again where option one could be you show up, nobody else bids against you on the property, you get it for opening bid. And that's home run deal. Option two or scenario two could be, wow, is that right on the lake?
That is right on the lake. Yeah.
Wow, that is a beauty. So scenario two could be maybe it gets bid up to $10,000 and you still have an amazing deal coming into this property. Scenario three, maybe it gets bid up to 50%. The other scenario is maybe it gets bid up to market value and beyond, right? This is the game that we play where we have to take swings. And I was just talking to one of our team members today. He's a former professional baseball player, and he basically said if you hit 3 out of 7 in baseball, you make it into the Hall of Fame. So with this stuff, if you come into this even with like Hall of Fame expectations, where you get 3 properties for every 7 sales you attend, or maybe it's 3 out of 10. Regardless, I'll get clear on that for the next one. But even 3 out of 10, you're going to be in good shape. So what if you go to an auction and things get bid up to market value? Because some people are going to say, hey, he said buy a house for $5,000 it's worth 50. I found a house for 5 and it got bid up to 120. This guy's full of crap. And you know what? That might happen. That might happen to some of you going to your first 5 auctions. And that's okay, because at the 6th auction, you could get a string of home runs. I always like to give the example. Josh was on the road. I think he went to like 7 sales. He's kind of getting burnt out, didn't get anything, and then went to Arkansas and bought like 8 properties at one auction. So you just need to stick with it and be consistent. Put in, an hour or 2 a day, 5 days a week. And when you contrast this to how much time you've put into, other things in your life, like social media, watching TV, watching YouTube without taking action, we've wasted a lot of time that could have made us millionaires by now, hands down. So this is where it comes back to implementation, to sign up for these auctions. You guys can join us at the auction as well, or you can download, the ABCs, which is our guidebook when we do this, and make sure to visit the Tax Lien School vault. So if you go to taxlienschool.com, you'll see our site, and we're super proud to reveal that we have the most comprehensive knowledge vault on government seized properties and tax liens and deeds. So when you come here, you'll see a full comprehensive map and breakdown on all of the tax lien and deed states. We have over 3,000 articles on this website. We have everybody gets an auction map first week. These are auctions happening this week. Our goal, like I mentioned, is to create the top resource in tax liens and deeds. And I have an open challenge out there to the public, and that is if you can find a YouTube channel or a tax lien and deed website with more valuable information combined with the books, if you come to us and we're like, hey, you know what? You found something else more valuable than a case of beer challenge, I call it. So far, nobody has come forward. I haven't had to buy a case of beer yet. So all of that is here. And like I say, for taking action, some of you guys asked, you can join us. You can take this information, sign up, go for it, or there's a link in the description if you want to join us at one of these auctions coming up, and we can take you by the hand and help you. That link is in the description as well. You can book a free call with us and we can see if it's a fit. That's what we do. That's our agenda. We give away everything in the description. And then from there, we work with people, small group, one-on-one, to take you by the hand and help you get some deals. So you can book a free call in the description below as well. We got a good turnout. We have some good questions here. Let us know where you're tuning in from. And let's see. We're going to take some of these questions here. I'm considering Missouri, closer to the parents, although Missouri, you have to be a resident. How would you work around that? So if that is the situation, we could see if maybe you could open an LLC there. Josh, you familiar with any workarounds?
Yeah, I haven't heard of that before. And so there's many times or many examples where the county tells us one thing and they say that it's only this way, it can only be done this way, there's no other option. And that hasn't been the case. And so generally when the county would tell us something like that, there should be a way to get around that. And so we would just need to explore it and figure it out. But I definitely think that especially if they have property that's just sitting there and they want it back on the tax roll, there must be a way. And so there are some counties or states that have had rules like that or similar to that, where Montana is an example where we just have to open an LLC in Montana, having like a mailing address in Montana, things like that. So there should be a workaround. We would just have to do some digging into it to figure it out. So maybe that's something that we could just bring up on the next call, the next live
Nice.
call that we do, and revisit it.
Dale is also saying on Bigger Pockets, there are others that have better reviews. And that's cool. Hey, our goal, like I said, is to have the most information. We're not everybody's cup of tea, and that's absolutely fine too. Maybe they have better reviews. That's great. Some people are like, what makes you guys better than the other people out there? And I say, as far as our content and our training, we do believe that we are going to continue to try to have the most comprehensive training that's out there. But at the end of the day, people are going to leave bad reviews. I'm sure there are other people that have better reviews. Sometimes people book a call and they don't like how the call went. Sometimes people sign up. Basically, based on the data, we have like a 96% approval rate as far as people liking our stuff. And just like your favorite restaurant has negative reviews, we might be the negative review that's, in your roster. And that's okay. We can't please everybody, but we can try to have the best content and training, which is what we're going to do. So that's great. We have negative reviews because if you try to impress everybody, you impress nobody at the end of the day.
That's right.
But thank you for letting us know. Let's see here. We got a question. Plan to attend the Philly auction on the 17th. Done due diligence, all recommendations. I'm afraid I will miss a lien on the property. Josh.
Yeah. Let's see if we can do this in like 3 minutes, maybe.
Ooh, Josh is a Philly expert. He is preparing for the upcoming
Let's just
auction.
put a quick clock on this, just because I don't want anyone to lose any money.
Here we go, Josh. You
So
want me to put a clock on my phone, or do you want to put one on?
I just started. We're at 6 seconds.
Okay, 6 seconds. Let's go.
All right, let's do this in 3 minutes. All right, so you got a property here, and let's just take this one for instance: $1,600 opening bid, and this is going to move fast. So watch the replay. But there's going to be a hyperlink here for OPA, Office of Property Assessment. This is going to give us a piece of the puzzle. And so if I come down here to view the tax balance, it's going to give me a breakdown. Now, if you see anything for licenses and inspections, you can go ahead, you could view that. That should all be wiped, but it's the commercial trash liens that you really want to be careful of. And that's going to show up here in this area. So this was a pretty calm property. 4,700 is the actual taxes that are owed. So they're taking a loss. That's why it's $1,600. Let's see if we can find one that's got a little bit more going on though. It's generally the pieces of land that have had properties on them that got demolished. Those are the ones that have huge, huge liens. Now the licenses and inspections. Okay, great. Here we go. So commercial trash fees. Pretty much for the most part, these commercial trash fees never ever get wiped from the tax sales. And so, if you're coming in and you have a piece of land that you're going to sell for 20 grand and you pick it up for 10, and there's $6,497 in commercial trash liens, that could break the deal, right? And so come in and have a look there. The other thing that you could search for are water liens. If you just go water liens, Philadelphia. Now the thing is that these are going to get wiped, but what we do is we look for all of the information and we make sure that it's in the court record. And so the court record is kind of the thing that has that keeps track of everything. And so every municipal lien, all of the taxes, everything that you find needs to be on that that court record, which you could call the county, you could ask them about that. I'll just kind of point you in the right direction. But if you want to just go and keep it simple, really just check the OPA, which is what we're on right now, view the tax balance. And so commercial trash fees 100% won't get wiped. The taxes will get wiped, and licenses and inspections should get wiped as well. So it's really, commercial trash fees you want to be careful of. And I mean, I think that would kind of put you in a good spot. You can also search for judgments at the recorder's office. You can do that online too. But really, they should handle everything. But I can tell you for a fact, though, these will never come off. So watch out for those commercial trash fees. But that should get you in good shape, I think, right there.
Nice,
Right.
Josh. How long did that take?
241.
241. Oh man, I think that could.
Not bad.
How do we shave a minute off that? What's funny is like 241, and when somebody first starts, that could take them like 2 days.
Yes. Yeah.
when they're getting into it. So Josh, we have one of my favorite questions that comes up that probably people wonder about. And Melvin is saying, taking someone's home because they forgot to pay the taxes or passed away will bring you such bad karma. No thanks. So I want to break this down because that is a great concern and a question, because if you don't understand the industry, it can be easy to think that like, oh yeah, we're just out there. We're showing up with a bulldozer, a front end loader, and the SWAT team, and we're just kicking people out of their houses. And that's definitely not the case. And if anything, we try to show people how to create a win-win. Well, for the people who are losing their houses. So at the end of the day, when it comes to making money in real estate or making money in anything, there is systems at play, right? And it comes down to the don't hate the player, hate the game. But this is a game that we're all locked into. If you think you own your property, try stopping paying your property taxes. You'll find out that at the end of the day, we all rent our land from the government because they will sell it right out from under us. So with that being said, this system has been around for over 200 years. And the system that's been around for over 200 years, the Tax Lien Deeds system, is not going anywhere. It's not going anywhere. This is a part of life, whether you like it or not. And there just happens to be a great money-making opportunity in this business, because at the end of the day, somebody who says taking somebody's home because they forgot to pay their taxes will bring you bad karma. Well, it's like, okay, have you driven on a public road? Do your kids go to public schools? Have you ever had to call the police? Do you have comfort knowing that if your house lights on fire, you can call the fire department and they're going to come, right? So where does that money come from? A lot of it comes from taxes. So if you really want to take this seriously, not to bust your chops too much, could go live in the bush somewhere and truly be self-reliant. I believe there's a MGTOW, men going their own way, where they just leave the system completely, and remember, you can't take technology. You have to, create your own tools and hunt and create fire without any modern reliance on technology. Anyways, that's a rabbit hole. But coming back to it, right? So when we buy a property at a tax deed auction, obviously, sure, somebody has went through perhaps a tough time. A lot of the times the properties are already vacant, but if the person is in the property, we will do our best to help them actually go make a good start. At the end of the day, we're not diabolical. We want to help people through a tough situation. So say you go and you buy a property, say you buy one of these properties at the auction for $5,000. Okay, cool. From there, what's going to happen is that person, they're entitled to the tax overage on that property, or we'll also do something called cash for keys. So if we win the bid, we'll say, hey, we want to help you go make a new start. Here's $1,000 or $2,000 to leave the house. And we'll say, here's $1,000 now, here's $1,000 when you get out. Depends obviously on how much the property is, but we'll actually help them. We'll help them find a new place to live. We will go above and beyond to help the person, because this system is in place anyway. It's going to happen. And the way we see it is it's better for them to deal with us, people who actually care about them. The other thing that we'll do is if things get bid up, say the opening bid's $5,000, it's a $100,000 house. Say we get it for $30,000, still a good deal. That means there's $25,000 in excess funds that they can actually go and claim. Now, the government doesn't actually tell them they can claim it. So when we get the property, we can tell them, hey, you know what? You owed $5,000. We bought this thing for $30,000. You're owed $25,000 from the government. Here's how to go get it. There is a whole business of it's called tax overages. And if you really want to attack people, that would be the one to attack because the tax overages people are going and trying to scoop that money up from other people and give them a percentage of it. So that's an industry I don't like. I would way rather just be ethical across the board and say, hey, you're owed 25 grand. Here's how to go get it. Here's how to go start fresh. So, the karma comment is, yeah, there's bad apples in every apple batch, right? You have doctors that are bad apples. You have dentists who take advantage of systems. In any system, you will have people on the far end who kind of give a bad name to things. So I just wanted to bring some clarity to that. In the business of YouTube, you have plenty of YouTube people who run scams and all that. And that's why, we're proud to have videos going back, 10 years now. All of that is something that we're super proud of as far as trying to be transparent and do our best job. At the end of the day, most of the time we do, but sometimes people don't like us. There's plenty of people in the tax lien and deed game. There's Sean Higgins, Tony Martinez, U.S. Tax Lien Association, Ted Thomas, who I learned from 20 years ago. I think he's still clipping along, and everybody has decent information for sure. It's what you do with it. And, there's no harm in us making a goal to provide the best information out there. So that's why we do this. And let's come back to the auction date. Anyways, I just wanted to give that comment a little bit of time because most people don't understand the business of tax liens and deeds and government seized property and all that sort of stuff. So if you have good intentions and you're ethical, you will have good ethical karma come your way, in my opinion. Let's see, auction date, time frame. I get a hold of the owner and make a deal before the auction. Yeah, it's called the pre-auction deal, and we like to do these as well. There are pros and cons to a pre-auction deal. A pro is you don't have to bid against anybody, and sometimes with a pre-auction deal, generally we'll be shooting for like 50% of market value as far as that goes. Whereas at the auction, you can have a chance of getting it at 5-10% of market value. So it's a bit of a hedge, right? So the other side is you can see inside the property and all that sort of stuff. Let's see, Josh, Philly auction. Will those judgments fall off?
Yeah, so it is judicial sale, so it just goes straight to court in that sense. So the mortgages, they should get wiped as long as they're notified. Exit plans, we really just try to look and see what's going on in the area. Philadelphia is so congested that we can get hyper local with comps, so like 0.25 miles, and we just make sure that there's activity in the area because there are pockets that you want to avoid. Like Nicetown, if that's how you say it, or Strawberry Mansion. Those are some kind of hot pockets for crime. We try to avoid those. But if you are, let's say you are in Philadelphia and you're wanting to attend these month after month, I do think that our training would definitely be the best thing. So I would see about booking a call. And the reason is that there are so many horror stories. Just the corruption in Philadelphia. One time, the FBI actually raided their office because they weren't putting the money that they received for taxes back onto taxes. And there's just been a history of corruption there. And so when they sell you something, it's always like buyer beware. And so it's our job to kind of piece together everything that we possibly can so that if we do spot any red flags, we can either avoid them or compensate for that. And so there's a few horror stories of like demolition liens, for instance, not being part of the judgment, not being part of the lawsuit, which means it doesn't come off. And so the demolition liens in Philadelphia are like 26 grand. And so we do walk through that piece by piece, but to try to kind of even explain it is challenging. And so what we do is we walk through all of it, and then you get to see it. And then generally what happens is the first time people see the whole process, it's kind of like, whoa, what am I looking at? But then after a few times, then people get it because it's a lot of information and it's a lot of different pieces coming together. So if it's possible, I think that's probably the best option. But yeah, most of the judgments should fall off. Those commercial trash liens won't. Mortgages should fall off. Everything should fall off. But it's just our job to go ahead and do the due diligence just to ensure that, especially when you're dealing with a county that has a history of corruption as well. Because you expect everyone to do their job, but when they don't, it's like, ooh. And so if you can plan or compensate for that, then if that is the case, you're totally fine. So yeah, that's a little bit about that. I would try to book a call though.
Excellent. Repository list. Do they give you clear title?
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing though. A lot of times they may not necessarily wipe out their own interest. So the municipal liens are a red flag. But other than that, yeah, pretty much everything is going to get wiped out. And so, let's say the opening bid is $250. If it's like a decade of unpaid taxes, obviously $250 is less than the decade of unpaid taxes. But at that point, they are willing to take a loss on it. And that's where you always got to advocate for yourself. So even if something doesn't get wiped or there is a municipal lien, we talked about this before, I think last week, you can always just push to get that cut in half. You can negotiate with them, get it removed. There's all kinds of options for when things like that pop up.
Right on. Good stuff. Good questions, everybody. If you're new to the channel, if you like this stuff, do us a favor, thumbs up, subscribe if you are interested in buying some of these cheap properties at good deals. We're going to be continuing our series, looking at more of these coming up. We went live today. I think it was about 1 o'clock on Tuesdays, Pacific time. And then Thursdays, we'll be doing a live webinar as well, another training. So anybody who wants to join the free webinar Thursday will be on Zoom. So if you download the book below, you can get registered for the webinar. We'll dive into some more technical stuff like title and things like that, some deep dives as far as that goes. And then from there, if anybody wants to join us at, say, one of these auctions, or if you want some one-on-one help getting into the business where we can take you by the hand, help you get a deal, that's something that we offer. So there's a link below. You can book a call. We can see if it's a fit to work together. And we basically build you a custom game plan with custom one-on-one help, taking you by the hand, helping you avoid the mistakes in person. So there's a link below there to book a call. You can do that. And what I recommend is just go back to the beginning of this, follow along with us, take action, and follow along with what we just did here so you can get in the game. And we appreciate everybody tuning in. If you tuned in earlier, I got a deadline coming up in a few minutes where I got to work out or I take a bite of this disgusting onion. So I'm going to move forward on that and get ready. So we appreciate everybody, and we'll see you here coming up soon. See you guys.